everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, where it is ActionX's premiere show where we talk about all things television, mostly in the review sphere, whether that is reviewing episode by episodes of shows currently on the air, reviewing seasons of completed or very long-running shows, or doing these quick impressions as you're watching now. Today we are talking about Close Enough, J.G. Quinto's newest show. I think I pronounced his name right. I mean, I should pronounce his name. I've basically watched the man's content for now 11 years. So I've been a big fan of him since the regular show days. Yeah, I want to talk about Close Enough. It came out during the pandemic last year, finally, after a very long hiatus from the initial announcement to eventually a release. It was always a question in the community, like, is this show ever going to come out? And then when we heard the backstory behind it, like why it was delayed and all that such, it was understandable. Then thankfully HBO Max, in one of its few saving graces so far, managed to bring the show into like a full production. And now here we are, having just completed season 2, I believe, a couple months ago, or last month, or no, yeah, now February, I believe, and now we got a season 3 renewal, so I'm very excited. So with that being said, let's talk about Close Enough. So my history with it is my history with the creator. I've watched him since regular show. I remember that time period. It was 2010. I was just getting into the groove of middle school, and we were kind of entering this new phase of the Cartoon Network show lineup, where you had stories that were starting to like become a little bit more mature, like you were getting a little bit more sophisticated story, like Adventure Time, and then eventually down the road, Steven Universe, and then they come regular show. Like I still remember, like the very first promos for it was like, regular show is anything but a regular show, because it's not. It's the furthest thing away from a regular show. It's not a typical show. Like they get into like the craziest situations possible that absolutely will not happen in real life. Of course, a talking blue jay and a talking raccoon are like, yeah, they're definitely not gonna freaking happen in real life. But I love the show. I really loved it. I stood around. I'm very unfortunate to say that in the last season I was not there all the time, because the last season it ended at a weird time in my life. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna binge it someday when it's completed. I watched the last episode, which I really did enjoy. Maybe I will go back and actually give the whole show a whole run. Maybe I will do a regular show quick impressions at some point in the future, but now's not the time. But once regular show ended, there was already news that hey, the creator is doing a new show. It's going to be more adult themed, still going to be at the Cartoon Network studio, but it's going to be airing on TBS. Basically, it's described as more adult regular show, because regular show already very thinly graze the line between stuff that would not be appropriate for kids to stuff that people like me would enjoy, and that was the balance and the humor and the love I have to respect for the creator, because he managed to masterfully skate that line, and then he did such a great job. So when they announced this new show and we saw the first teaser, I'm like, it's just a teaser, but I'm very interested in this world. Like, is it in the same show as regular world? I don't think it is. I think they have references, but I don't think it is the universe. I think it's just a separate universe. I was very interested in it, and then we just we didn't hear anything from it for a long ass time. I think it was like around they said 2018 was the plan release, and then it came and went. Then 2019 was the new plan release, and you just get updates and updates saying this is the month, we're still working on it, that sort of thing. We were getting very short snippets of new footage, and then so to keep hope alive, and then we just didn't know. And then HBO Max became a thing and announced, Close Enough is being moved to HBO Max as an original exclusive, so stay tuned for that. Then the show happened. I'm like, oh my god, finally. So it turned out, apparently, the teaser we saw was not from the show. It was just proof of concept. So it's the show got picked up, and they were going to do the show, but they wanted to show something for the audience, saying that, hey, this show is happening. It's a thing. Stay tuned. And it was awesome. It really was. I'm actually surprised at how much of that original trailer ended up in the final show. So I'll give credit to that. And so apparently the reason why I forgot to talk about this, the reason why the show was not the show, there was nothing wrong with the show itself. It was mostly the other shows, because TBS was playing this massive hour-long block of adult animated shows, featuring another show called I forgot the other one. It's an alien show. There was another one planned by Louis C.K., but then his accusations and that whole thing happened, so they canceled that show. So basically, the planned time block fell apart, and they were trying to rework it with some other shows, but it never really caught on. So it was basically stuck in development hell. Like, the show was happening, it needed something else. They weren't thinking it could survive on its own for some weird reason. But it did, because now, close enough, 2 seasons in, and I really, really, really enjoy it. It's been a while since I watched regular shows, so I can't really compare the two properly. But from what I remember, definitely Close Enough is a worthy successor to regular show. It really is. It's different. It's like, it's more. It's so weird. Like, I don't know how he always creates these characters that are like, we feel so bad for them, but they're also so likable at the same time, that it's just the perfect balance. He always knows how to make, like, people that are in very desperate situations work in comedy, and it just works. And I loved. It's another one of these anime shows. Like, I loved every character on it. I love it. Every character is so unique and has its own organic chemistry with one another. And again, as always, this is a quick impression, so I will not be spoiling anything past the first episode, even though this is technically not story driven at all. This is not a story driven show. There is no story to this. Every episode is kind of like a slice of life type thing. So there really isn't, but I could talk about the characters a lot. And so going into so the whole premise is there's this 20-something couple. They got a kid way too young into their relationship. But obviously, being young parents who have really no direction in life, they kind of have no choice but to move in to a very cramped apartment with a divorced couple, one who lives in the closet, one not in that way, and one who is a social media fanatic. And I'm honestly surprised on how much, like, I look at these characters through the promotional stills and stuff like that, and how much I am very shocked in how they are. Like, especially the 2 side characters who kind of become more of a prevalent to the main cast in season 2, which is the landlady and her son, her adopted son. They become a little bit more prevalent later on, but, like, even them, like, I viewed them, it's like, I honestly thought the landlady was going to be more like Mr. Dickovish from Spider-Man 2, if anyone knows what the hell I'm talking about, where she would be constantly asking them for the rent, or like giving like some like sort of like funny joke about how you're always behind your rent or stuff like that. I thought we were gonna get that, but we didn't, and I'm honestly, it's a much better thing, because first episode, I believe it's in the first episode, I don't entirely remember because I don't, but so there's a line in the first one of the first episodes where this is like, I think the best scene that, like, I always, like, it sticks out in my mind. It's like when it was during the whole Josh and Emily had to go find a thing for Candace for her upcoming show and tell day, I believe it was, or cultural fair, I forgot which one it was. And our caretakers, Alex and Bridget, doing a horrible job of being parents or, you know, babysitters, let her go missing, but in reality she just goes next door to her landlady to get some dinner. And Randy's doing this weird thing where, like, it's sort of in the original trailer, but it's a different version of it, and also it's a different voice actor. So I'm like, I think the new voice actor is way better in the role for some reason. It's still a little jarring at times, but it does work. And the best line he says, and I'm sorry if I'm ruining the impact of this. He says, hold on, I'm gonna try to replicate this character's accent. Eureka. Children are the future. Okay, I butchered that so hard, but I love that line so much, and it just plays in my head over and over again when I go to when I go to Close Enough. Oh, that's so funny. It really has. So on to the characters itself. Josh and Emily are not your typical married couple. I think they are married. Yeah, they are. They're not. There are times where, like, it doesn't seem like they should be together, but there's just something inside them that, like, yeah, these two really like each other and love each other and care about each other, and, you know, they have a daughter together, so they kind of have to. But they vibe so well off each other, and, like, obviously it's the typical Josh is kind of the more irresponsible one at times, and Emily has to be the one who's responsible, but even each of them have their moments of, like, one's being more responsible than the other for some odd reason. It just works out. And just seeing their dynamic with Candace, their daughter, play out, it's like, this is so cool. Like, I really loved it. But it doesn't seem like they're the main characters that much, because honestly, it's not really much of a spoiler because I know it's an adult cartoon, so like at times the attention is going to focus on other characters in this cast. But even like those two being like prominent figures on the poster and like kind of like being the main central family around it, they're not. I view it as like they're not really at times like as the biggest part of it, because for me it's definitely, I think the main star of the show is Alex. Like I don't know why Alex reminds me so much of an old tenant I had. Not 100%, but like kind of somewhat similar. Where in that logic, Alex is not the person you want to be in. He's not. His life is kind of shit because of mistakes he made in his life, and we can all relate to that. We definitely could all see a little bit of ourselves in Alex, and like the way they just like he's supposed to be a professor at this college, but at times he just is like kind of like the lowest like civilized person of the group, and it's so hilarious. Even there was like this one scene, I believe this was in the first episodes again, where they were just talking about how like, you know, how old they were getting, and they were getting so hyped up over tea, which I'm like, I appreciate the tea shout out. I appreciate it. Oh god, that is burning hot. And even he just shows up in his freaking nightgown, and I'm just saying, like, so I do not want to have a nightgown when I'm older. I'm gonna just still wear my lazy clothes, like my laziest pair of shirts and my pants, and just sleep. That's all I'm doing. And he just like and so he just wants a cup of tea, and he never got it. And I'm like, yeah, I love this character so much. Even like there was like the first clip they publicly released for it, which was about the clown episode. And it was like the whole, this has been shown to death, so I'm going to talk about the clown penis joke, where it's like the clown can contort anything that they touch, including their dicks, and the guy somehow makes a contortion of a giraffe, or yeah, a giraffe with his dick, and I'm like, I'm going to be honest, he rivals Mr. Fantastic in so many ways. He kind of does. And that was like one of, like, I think one of the best scenes of the show so far. Like that entire performance is like, oh my god, I never want to go to the circus ever. I never do. As for Bridget, she's pretty chill. I mean, she's your like typical like the social media girl. Like she's always up on her social media. And there's a scene in season 2 where like it perfectly describes how my generation and generations around me are kind of like acting with smartphones. It's like, yeah, that's basically a perfect representation. Like that's honestly the closest you're ever gonna get to it. So, it's just so funny. It really is. I really can't do the show justice, because the problem is when it comes to comedy, it's like, you know, trying to describe it, it becomes difficult to explain it, because like I said this before on other reviews, is that comedy is very subjective. So it's like, you might love Close Enough, and then you might hate Close Enough, because the style of humor they're trying to deliver is not what you're used to. And that's perfectly fine. You don't have to match with it point to point. But I think it is relatable to everyone, especially around people my age, like the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings that are dealing with these sort of things so far. And so similar to how a regular show, I believe, was targeted more to, I know it was a kid's show focusing on young 20-year-olds, like very, very old teenagers sort of thing. I think that was the timeline that we were given. That's kind of like the where this show is like trying to target like the late 20s and the early 30s, and even the people like the mid 20s, like this couple. They're trying to tell that story, and I think they're doing such a great job at it. And I'm very excited. I got renewed for season 3. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see where the show goes for now. I hope it goes for like almost the same as a regular show, maybe 5-7 seasons. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. I really don't know. But so far the show's killing it. And since it's on HBO Max, a pure own Warner Bros. Show, and that doesn't have much content, I do have hope that Close Enough will go on for a while longer, hopefully, and be able to tell their story. And I'm very happy for it. So yeah, I would highly recommend Close Enough, which you can find on HBO Max. Only on HBO Max. So yeah, that's my recommendation. So hope you enjoyed that. So let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Close Enough? Have you watched Close Enough? Let me know. I love to talk about it. I haven't talked to anyone about Close Enough yet, so I would love to engage in conversation with y'all. So let me know in the comments below. But until then, I think that's going to do it for me tonight, because I have been up since 8 a.m. in the morning. I'm recording this at 10 at night, so I'm feeling a little wheezy. So with that being said, This has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to know what we're doing on What's in the Tube besides these quick impressions, we do Rookie Season 3 episode reviews each and every Monday morning after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC or on Hulu the next day. We also do Nancy Drew Season 2 episode reviews each and every Thursday morning after a brand new episode on Wednesday nights on the CW or free the next day on the CW app. However, normally on this time slot, we would be doing Walker episode reviews each and every Friday morning after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW or free the next day. Next week, we are back with Walker. We are definitely also back. I can't wait to get back into that world, be consistent, and know what the heck I'm doing again instead of like just trying to think of, well, not think, but like trying to pick what shows I want to do for quick impressions. Because like I watch a lot of shows, but like still, that's still a problem I have. But if you don't care about Close Enough, well, I could do a regular show, quick impressions, at some point in the future. I would have to rewatch that show at some point. I don't know when or where. So stay tuned for that. But if you did like hearing me talk about, you know, shows in general, there's a ton of quick impressions on What's in the Tube, so go check them out. But until then, again, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode is live, which usually is every Monday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. Like, favorite, share this review if you want to, but it does help us get us out there to other people who have yet to discover us online, as well as mix the algorithm work. I don't know how. As well as sharing is free. So yeah, there's really no excuse. Follow us on Twitter to be up to date with any updates for the channel. Follow us on Twitch for any streaming news. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. Hopefully I'll see you down the road. But until that point, peace out.